Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Let me get this thing right here. Goodness gracious. There we go. That's a little better. What's going on, folks? Welcome to Good Times at 7. Goodness gracious, is on the wrong one. Look at that. Give me a second. I don't know what's going on there. It's one of them days, y'all. Rushing to get here. Get everything ready. Why does it keep doing that? Okay. All right, here we go. Here we go. Y'all tell us where you're from. And we'll see if we can do a impromptu call in, which y'all know once we get on the trip, I'm gonna be doing that, having different people calling in, kind of like co-hosting, but when you get underway, it helps to have someone to call in and you're actually talking to them on the phone. Everybody can hear what they say. And then, they call out questions or whatever, because when you're operating a boat, especially if you're operating a boat, things get a little bit crazy. So you want to have somebody there to kind of help you out. But all right, it's Good Times at 7. I know I've been sick a while. I want to say, put in the comments, have you not seen the video that dropped this morning? Because if you haven't seen the video, I don't want to spoil it for you. But put in the comments if you've seen the video. I'm interested to see. Just say I saw it or not yet. Just put in the comments as I get going here. Let's see if we're going to do I'm going to announce the crab trap giveaway. And I'll have the guy that does the crab traps for us call in if I can get him. Adrian, if you're listening, saw it. Okay. All right. Good evening. All right. Good deal. Yeah, if you hadn't saw it, I don't want to mess it up. All right. Okay. Saw it. Yep. Courtney, that was my daughter. Courtney was in the video, so she did a great job. The doctor, that was not a doctor. He was my captain, deputy chief in the fire department. Great friend, known him for many years. He was in the video, so he did a good job. But let's see here. Let's go ahead and click through, like and share to your social media. Again, let your people know, friends, that what we got coming up on the Great Loop. I'll tell you, if you mention it, you'll find out people will say, what is the Great Loop? You'll be in on something that most people won't know what you're talking about. And you'll kind of be introducing them and say, what is this guy? And he bought this boat for $600. He's redoing it and he's going on the Great Loop. And it's a 6,000 nautical mile journey. And then most people will then be interested. But you'll find out that you're the only one that knows what it is. Most people don't know what it is. So mention that to your friends. And of course, we're live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. Little show boat update. We'll talk a little bit about the boat. If you saw the video, you saw that the motor's in the boat. There's quite a few things I don't know if you actually seen. All right, here's what this was a little nugget, and I was wondering who saw it. But let me say this first. Sorry, I can't. I have plans with my boat. That's been my mantra now for the past months. I've not been able to do a lot of things I get invited to because just working on the boat. So I'd be happy when I get back. I'll be able to do some stuff because it's been just work on the boat. So let me ask you a question here. And this is not the question of the day, but for those that saw the video, Tom, we'll talk about that in a second. For those that saw the video, did you see the new gas tank? I'm wondering, did y'all see the new gas tank that's in there? Now, there's the saddle tank, the one on the side. I know you saw that one. But did you notice that the new tank is in? It's totally installed. Videos coming. But put in the comments, did you see that? So in my videos, I like to kind of show things. I pointed down there and I said, I think I said something like, we got some other stuff done or something like that. But did you see that? That the gas tank's actually already in the boat? And that was a pretty neat project. Tom's got a question. Tom, I'm going to come right back to you here in just a second. That's a very good question. But this is the question of the week. And when this goes on the replay, those that see it on the replay also answer this. I don't know, but when do they start pulling the docks from the water later in the summer, like when fall or whatever? For those, I know there's a lot of people from up north that'll watch this. When roughly, what date, and y'all go ahead and put that in here while I answer Tom's question. When did they start pulling the docks out of the northern waters? I'm going to do some research to find out when they start closing the locks, because that's going to determine how long I can go as to where I need to be, like what distance I have to make in order to be able to be past the last lock that they close, if that makes sense. Nautical terminology, stow is to put away or store aboard. So if captain says stow it below, put it down below. Stern is the back of the boat when you're talking about forward. Aft is also back, but at the stern of the boat. Okay, and scope is the length or extent of anchor road that you put out. Okay, let's see. This week's task, since the motor is in and to crank it, is I now have to put the outdrive on. I believe that I finish a job that I'm working on Wednesday, and I believe by Thursday or Friday-ish, I'm putting that in there. I also will be replacing the gimbal bearing. I'll be showing the video of that. So if anybody's got a bad gimbal bearing, I got a video coming about that. So that'll be very interesting. Let's see. Okay, stand by. Stand by. All right, we'll come back to here in just a second. So Tom has a very good question. Could you put a small 15 horsepower outboard on the back of the new boat? I would think it would be enough power for 80% of your great loop, much less gas. All right, that's a great question. And do you notice there on the back, do you see that outboard mount right there? Let's see if I can put it over here. Yep. Y'all see that outboard? All these bayliners come with this mounted on the back. Here's what I'm entertaining. I have and we're talking about an emergency engine here. But also I get what he's kind of pointing at, saying, well, hey, couldn't you, if you're not in a hurry, couldn't you let that 15 horsepower run? What I'm looking into now, have been thinking about, talking about, is, that I'm putting solar panels on the roof. Be building a roof here very soon, going to pick up materials Monday. But is to put an electric motor on the back. Now, kind of like a high-end, I won't say high-end, but a very strong trolling motor is kind of what I'm thinking. Because in most situations, if something goes wrong, that's the value of good times, the OG of having two engines. One shut down, and y'all that followed me, I had several times where I had one engine shut down. Guess what? With the second one, it wasn't any big deal. You just kept on, moving and get to wherever you needed to go and then deal with it. Of course, one engine, whole different ball game. So the first thing you would do, if you don't have a motor, but just FYI, is throwing your anchor. Your anchor is your emergency brake on a boat. That's what's going to stop your forward motion, especially if you're in a tight. If your motor or prop's not turning, you ain't got to worry about anything wrapping up. So that would be one of the first things that you would do. But the secondary to that is I'm thinking about electric motor. I am putting an extra solar panel from what I had last time, and having, I think I'm going to double up the amp hour batteries. Of course, money is a big factor there. By the way, these panels, the whole system has gone up about $700 from a couple of years ago when I bought it. So that's what my plan is right now, is to put an electric motor. Now the problem is you need one. If you notice there, um, it's got to have a pretty long shaft. And those, matter of fact, I got one down in the shop, one of them older electric motors, and it would just be to get you out of a, if your engine fails, to get you up to the dock. It would not move you through any heavy water. You're wasting your time. But that is an interesting thought, or something that I'm looking at. All right. Hang on one second. I have to write something. Can't forget to talk about this. Okay. Good question, Tom. Very good question. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Jeffrey, I've got a question. I replaced my carb on my 2.5 or 212 horsepower. Mercury runs great at idle, but stalls when I throttle up. Any suggestions? Okay. My first, does it stall immediately whenever you get on it, or does it start going and then it starts stalling? Because I'll tell you what some of the things that you're dealing with. The slower, if it is the slower of the two, one of the things you can look at, and this is a very good thing to go ahead and do anyways, maybe you did it, but is to replace all your fuel lines up in the engine. All right. And the reason is, if you had a problem with your carburetor, that's telling me they're probably older. And the problem is those older fuel lines, they'll collapse, and it won't do it right away. Long as you are sitting there idling, there's enough fuel going through there. As soon as you start to shower down on it, they collapse. So this is a good thing to do irregardless, because if you have older fuel lines, they're going to collapse. So that'd be one of the first things I would do. The second thing is, if you're, and I don't quite understand that, I replaced a carb is that a typing 212 horsepower? Is it two different 12 horsepowers or two carburetors? You might have to clear that up a little bit. But stalls when you throttle up. And the reason I'm asking that, if you're talking about two different engines, okay, then it is a fuel problem before the engines. There's something causing, and the reason for that. This was the great thing about having two engines, whether this answers this particular question, but you would know if you had a fuel problem. If you had two engines on a boat shutting down, almost assuredly you got a fuel problem. Almost assuredly, being it's getting a vacuum somewhere, the lines are collapsing, something like that. You're pulling off of two tanks, or especially when you're pulling off two separate tanks, that's almost a for sure. So let me see if you add something to that, and we'll talk about it. Definitely, that's a very possibility. No way that it's sucking air somewhere. That's a definite possibility. Let's see what else we got. Why spend the money and you'd have to find a way to steer it? Okay, you'd still steer with your motor. That would still primarily steer it, I believe. Now, I haven't tried this, so I can't speak to it. It ain't going to have steering like you would have, under normal conditions, obviously. But here's a secondary thing I didn't talk about. I'm thinking, when we talk about terms of lower fuel consumption, that when I get in the rivers, especially when the waters are flowing south and I'm not in a hurry, I got a day to kill, whatever, I can run that electric as long as my batteries will, and save a lot of fuel costs that way. So that was kind of another thing there. Let's see. That was a good point that No Way brought up about sucking air. Here's what's happened to me before. It's very easy for you to drop one of the separators. Be careful. Make sure that you go back and look. I'm not 100% sure which one you're talking about, but some of them, they'll have a separator that's about a 1/4 inch thick where it goes actually into the engine. And then it has another thin one. And then on the other side, it's got the same thing. So make sure they're there, because that will definitely cause you a problem. So, all right. So Jeff says it's immediate. All right. We'll talk about that and think about that. But the secondary thing that comes to my mind is it can be a stator. The stator produces the electrical power that you need. I would look into, and I don't know if you have a manual, but always, whatever engine you got, buy a manual. Here's a manual for the one I got now. That right there will save you a ton of money, but that way that you can test your stator to make sure, because your stator puts out the power. Without the power, you could have the same problem. And I'm going to think more about that as well. 2.5. Okay. We're going to talk more about that. 4-stroke Mercury. Okay. Let's see. Tom says, I also believe the main motor would steer. It would also be easy to adjust the linkage between the outdrive and the outboard, for sure. And I've actually thought about that. That wouldn't be too hard to do. To be honest with you, I'm really digging the ideal of a electric, because of the cleanness of it. Not every boat is going to have what I'm going to have with the solar panels. So I'm like, well, man, if I'm going to have them solar panels, I'd love to have an electric motor there where it ain't costing me anything. Though I get what you're saying, a little, 15 is not burning very much. And it would probably, a 15, honestly, would push that boat as fast as I think Good Times used to go, a long time, around 8. I bet it would under normal calm conditions. If you're in any seas, it wouldn't. But very, very good question. But anyways, I'll let you know how, once I get it into water, I can start testing that to see electrically. And what I'm going to do is do some testing before, and those electric motors are super expensive. And it could come down to that I really don't have the budget for that with all else that I'm spending. Guys, I said last time that I would have that budget thing done. That's taken me longer than I thought. I was working on it probably an hour tonight, still not done. Seems like I spent a lot more money than what I thought I have. But so budget is big on that. I'm about to drop $2,000. I was just talking about the electric. The solar panels are $2,000 now, 2,000. That's with a full setup of the panels, all the wiring, 225 amp hour battery, but I want to double that. So let's see here. Okay, I want to say that no live stream next week. The next one will be on February the 15th. I'm going to try to get out some really quick videos. There's a lot more done on the boat than obviously what you've seen. As I said, I finished up a job that I just had me just covered up. I'm like y'all. Imagine working, every day, get home, and then try to bam out videos and work on the boat. Uh, thank goodness we got these longer days, because to be honest with you, I'll come home, I'll have me a little power nap, and get back up and go out and start working again. I've already turned to working on the inside, trying to get the refrigerator in there so that I have cool water as the time goes on, and the AC. But some of that, let's see, some of that, because it's starting to get hot. So let me say that and this was really awesome, that Tony Scott was the winner. Tony Scott, y'all know who Tony was. He's the trailer guy. And it's going to be interesting. I'm going to do a separate video of he sponsored the trailer. Y'all know that. And it just so happens he was the one that won it. But Tony sponsored the trailer. I'm going to do a video about that. I just got a box from him. But we studied the trailer and getting his expert opinion. I need to replace the springs, obviously all the bearings and everything, totally going through it so that the amount of miles we're going to put on it, I'd hate to be broke down on the side of the road. So, but with that, anybody put in any major questions? And is anybody here from the north? I didn't see any comments about, do you know when? I was kind of expecting a few people on here that would know, when do they pull the docks out of the Northeast? Like what time seems like someone told me that there's a certain date that they start pulling them by. And I know that can change a little bit each year, depending on, the heat of the summer and how long that's lasting. But when, and also for the replay, when do those docks get pulled? Because I want to, just a second. Okay, I never got the guy that owned for the impromptu, but so if y'all leave in the comments, if you talk to any of your people from the north, I'm trying to figure out some information about that. And let me get out of that. So that's going to wrap it up. I hadn't long been home myself, try to get something to eat. I wanted to get this going. But the next one, I'll be sure and have the cost breakdown for you together. And to be honest with you, by the next one, we should have some sea trials. And not that the inside the boat's done, but at least I say sea trials. The boat should have been in the water by then. So hopefully I'll have some cool video for you to show you that. But this, I know, is a little shorter one, but I still got 3 or 4 things to do myself tonight. Appreciate y'all showing up. And 2 weeks for the next live stream. I will see y'all then. And remember, good times is a state of mind, people. It's all right there.